This video will show you how to view the coding distribution of nodes along the values of two attributes using the crosstab query. But first, I might wonder what the differences between a crosstab and a matrix coding query are. As shown in the lesson Exploring Your Data Using Coding Queries, a matrix query is useful to search for patterns in coded data for several pairs of items, usually nodes by attributes, but also nodes by nodes, or sets of data files or cases by nodes. The crosstab query, on the other hand, is recommended when what I have to see is the coding distribution of themes along one or two attributes. When I choose the latter, the crosstab stacks the two attributes and cross-tabulates the groups within the themes in a way that is easy to see how the coded data are spread across my units of analysis. Since the crosstab query searches for coded data, it is important that you have coded a significant amount of data for the results to reveal meaningful differences across subgroups. As for the matrix coding query, the real value of these analytical tools is to look at coded data behind the numbers to explain the apparent differences. Another question I might ask myself is, when should I run a crosstab query, during or at the end of the coding process? The answer to that question has to do with my approach to qualitative analysis. For instance, if I work in a theory-driven manner, I will know from the literature what possible differences exist between my respondents with regards to the topics of my study. But if I work in a data-driven manner, these differences will only appear as I code the data and note in my memos what nodes and attributes should I analyze in a crosstab query. I should also keep in mind that the possibilities of analysis that the crosstab query offers are extensive. For this reason, it is sound practice to know beforehand why and what outcome I intended to achieve when running a crosstab query, as NVivo alone won't tell me what results are meaningful for my study. For this exercise, I will run a crosstab query with the nodes and attributes of the lesson on the matrix coding query, so I can easily see the differences between both queries. Let's say I want to find out the difference that generation down east and age group make regarding their attitudes about real estate development. For instance, I might have a hunch that men whose families have been living in down east for several generations have a different attitude regarding real estate development than women who are new in the area from the coding I did. The crosstab query will help me identify whether this difference exists and whether the difference is meaningful with regards to the Down East study. The information about generation Down East and age group is stored as attributes in the case classification. In the ribbon, I choose the Explore tab and click Crosstab. In the Crosstab criteria window, for codes, I click the plus sign. Expand the attributes nodes and click mixed, negative, neutral and positive. Then click OK. Using the arrows, I can reorder these to make positive first, followed by negative, and then mixed, and then neutral. I'm going to set attribute 1 to generations down east and attribute 2 to age group. Since I want the query to only search data coded at one node, I'm going to click Selected Items, and in my nodes, tick the box for Real Estate Development, and then OK. I can now run the query. Looking at the crosstab results, I might be wondering what the numbers in the cells mean. By default, the crosstab shows the number of cases that match each pair of item. I select the green-white shading under cell shading to identify the highest and lowest case frequency for each age group across the generations down east. I see that for residents with no generation down east, whose age group is 50 to 59, 6 have a positive attitude, while 9 have a negative attitude about real estate development. In the last row, total, these cases represent 9 participants. This means that the different attitudes about real estate development are not mutually exclusive. That is, those who have expressed positive attitudes about real estate development also expressed negative attitudes. Now, if I want to know what attitude prevails the most, or the least for each generation down east across age groups, I scroll to the right-hand side of the crosstab to the last column, Total. The number 104 indicates the number of cases classified as person, and within this group, 100 cases expressed their views about real estate development. When I compare the number of cases who express positive or negative views about real estate development, the difference is insignificant, with 94 cases in favour compared to 95 against real estate development. If I want to see the age groups by generation down east as rows and the attitudes as columns, I click Transpose. The transposed view shows the same information but displayed differently. This display is more compacted, allows to see more subgroups in the crosstab, and depicts easier the patterns in your data. First, notice the number of associated cases appear for each generation down east group. This information is useful to compare how many cases, of the total of cases in a given subgroup, are coded at a pair of items. I also see the last column Total shows the number of unique cases who have expressed their views about real estate development for each age group across generations down east. If I look at generation down east 3 or more, I can see age groups who talked the most about real estate development are those between 50 to 59 and 60 to 69, with 15 and 16 cases respectively. The cells of the last row Total show the aggregate number of cases whose views were coded at the different attitudes regarding real estate development, that is, 94 for positive, 95 negative, 5 mixed, and 1 for neutral. I can change the number in the cells for coding references. Coding references refer to the number of data passages coded at each pair of item. I see that, for instance, for the age group 50 to 59 with no generations down east, more comments were coded at negative attitude with 11 references than to positive attitude with 6 references. The column Total shows which age group across generations down east commented the most and the least about real estate development. When all attitudes combined, respondents who are in 60 to 69 with 3 or more generations down east commented 36 times about real estate development, while the other subgroups did not comment at all on this topic. These results reveal the importance, or lack of, certain themes for specific generations and age groups in the Down East study. Now I am wondering what the total coding references for positive versus negative views about real estate development is across subgroups, and whether the difference is meaningful. To find out, I look at the last row Total. The cells show the sum of coding references for each attitude node. I see that overall there is little difference between the positive and the negative views expressed about real estate development across generations, with each having 105 and 106 coding references respectively. And when these references are added to the neutral and mixed views about real estate development, they totalize 219 coding references. While the coding references provide the frequency of data passages, I must nevertheless keep in mind that the numbers only tell one side of the story in qualitative research. If I want to see what residents with 3 or more generations down east, whose age is 60 to 69, said positively about real estate development, I double-click on the cell. And this will allow me to view the coded data. Viewing the data behind the numbers might trigger new insights, invite me to do some further coding, or help me see patterns in the data that I did not see before. All these observations and decisions must be recorded in memos, which constitute the audit trail of my analysis. After running any query, I can choose between closing the query or saving the search terms. Saving the search allows me to rerun the query with more or different data, but I'll need to run the query again to see those different results. To save the query terms, I click on Add to Project and then name the query. I'm going to call this Crosstab about real estate development and then click OK. If I close this query, I can access it again by going to the Queries folder under Search and double-clicking the relevant query. Saving the results is also possible by clicking on Save Results. I name the results Crosstab about real estate development and then click OK. The results are saved in the folder Query Results. I can view the Crosstab results in different ways by clicking on the Charts tab on the right-hand side of Detailed View. Then I need to select the most appropriate chart for presenting my findings. In this case, I'm going to choose the grouped column chart. These charts are exportable as an image file, and I can do this by right-clicking on the chart and selecting Export Chart. This gives me the option to export in a variety of formats, and then click Save. I can also run a crosstab of codes versus cases. First, I change crosstab codes against to cases. Then I select my themes, and then my cases. I'm going to select all of the survey respondents. I can scope a query to a particular node. In this case, I'm going to choose real estate development again and click Run. If I want to export the result of the crosstab for further analysis in SPSS, I right-click on the crosstab and choose Export Crosstab Results. You'll notice from here I can choose the SPSS.sav format from the drop-down. It's now your turn to run some crosstab queries.